Atlas Stone Fundamentals, Tacky. So you soon get to the point with your lap and load technique where you feel like the repositioning of your hands makes the extension and the load up a lot more powerful and allows you to lift a lot more weight than the one motion technique and going straight up. But then you'll soon get to the point where you're so confident with that extension that you're handling heavier weights and working at higher percentages, etc., until you get to the point where you feel like the hard bit now is gripping the weight from the floor. So you can see in these videos here, because I've got my grip set from the floor. I can go it's almost like a maximal deadlift from the floor on that, especially on that third rep there. But you can see that my arms are that my arms are almost loose, and I'm not creating much tension with my arms whatsoever. I'm literally just clamping my hands and trying to keep my arms long, almost like pieces of string with hooks on the end. And I'm relying on the equipment and the tacky to keep me connected to the stone, much like the same principle, a similar principle to using figure of 8 straps, attaching you to a deadlift bar. If you get your strap set up right, it should just feel like you're connected, and you don't actually have to squeeze too hard at all. So if you feel like you can imagine the error of your forearms skidding on the stone and you're not getting much traction, then it's probably an equipment error, and you haven't got either your tacky correct or the right blend of tacky for the temperature. So here is a video of demonstration of where I put my tacky. So I'm a massive advocate of putting the majority of the tacky on the hands. So you can see that I'm making sure that I've got plenty of tacky on my hands here. And the reasoning for this is several fold. So watch where my hands are as I pick the stone. It's my hand where I'm producing most of the traction and most of the grip on the stone. So for me, this has worked really, really well, because the hand position allows me to, relying on the hands actually enables you to create a higher start position with the stone than you would be if you're focusing on clamping your forearms to the stone, like you see a lot of people do, and getting the hands right underneath and using the forearms as the point of contact. The second major benefit is the fact that it's a really, really not too uncomfortable on the forearms. Like I got to the point in, like, say, the training phase last year where I was training stones 3 times a week, and I just didn't get any pain on the forearms anymore, and any like minimal grazing on the forearms, because I wasn't actually producing that much force on the stone with my forearms at all. I was actually creating more force with the hands, and almost using my hands like shovels with adhesive on the end, essentially. And for people who think that this method like doesn't work when you go heavy, I can max out my stone pickup now, and it'll be my strength that's the limiting factor, and that's with and not a maximal squeeze. You see a lot of people really focusing on squeezing and creating the connection in terms of grip with their upper body strength, almost like a pec fly. Whereas I'm just making sure that my equipment's right to stick my arms and my hands to the stone in the right position to keep me clamped. The start position is I try and get my chest as high as possible. Like the thing that you do have to consider in situations which are inevitable in strongman, where you grip it, like you can't rely on the high hand position, because you do need a bit more surface area in contact with the stone. are things where, say, you might do competition where the stones are wet, for instance. You might do a competition where the stones are dusty. You might do competitions where somebody's sweated on the stone before your go. So in those situations, yeah, you might want to be looking to get your hands a little bit lower and get more contact of your upper body in more contact with the stone to increase that friction. And of course, then this is going to compromise, like this is going to hurt your forearms a little bit more. This is going to, you might want to put more tacky on your forearms in that situation when you get to comp, etc. But I'm talking for the majority of training time. Like if you're using, say, a similar working weight stone at your gym, and you know what the stone feels like, you know how dusty they are, you know what the grip's like, you know how much residual tacky is on there. You kind of get a feel for an expectation, what you're going to be able to, like, how you're going to be able to train with that, but just modify it for specific context when you come to competition. So in terms of, I'm a massive fan of using like having different blends of tacky rather than getting too attached to one specific manufacturer or brand or whatever. I would say as a minimum, I'd say as a minimum that we want at least 2 blends of tacky in our bags. But obviously, the more the more is going to be beneficial. So, one that you can use in hotter weather, one that you can use in cooler weather. So you can imagine the typical scenario of people training in cold conditions, and then they're having to really dig their nails in to get any kind of tacky out of the pot. You see people who, say, put it in a microwave or whatever. Whereas I'm not a fan of this because you're using the wrong blend of tacky. So when you might get the tacky warm enough to use for a set, but then it's gonna likely stick to the stone and then go solid pretty quickly. Whereas if you have the right blend of tacky for the temperature, you're going to be able to. That residual tacky is going to be really, really useful. What's on the stone. So you see it the other way, where people, and I've made the mistake where, no, in fact, I didn't make a mistake because I took a packed extra blends of tacky in my bag. So when I competed in India 3 years ago, and I had my tacky perfect, I knew exactly what tacky I was going to use. It just felt amazing in training. And then I went to India, opened my tacky pot, and it was like water. It was so runny. It was useless. If I'd have put it on, it'd have been not only useless, it'd be dangerous because it just makes it even more slippy. So luckily, I'd packed and prepared a blend that was suited for warmer temperatures. That I was in the mindset then that, this tacky that I've got, I'll keep it in my bag, but it's rubbish because it's always too hard or whatever. Whereas actually put it in the right context, the right situation, it was perfect. So if you're a good way to test is if you're struggling to get your tacky out of the pot and you're having to wrestle with it to even get some to get on your for your session, then it's probably too, even if you get some on, it's probably going to be too, it's not suitable for the conditions, and it's gonna stick to the stone and then just go solid again, and then going to be really, really difficult, and it's just going to affect your session negatively and affect your expectations and stuff like that. If it's too runny, like you think in a warm summer's day, or in the gym that I train at, it gets really hot like a greenhouse. So if your tacky feels brilliant to get on your hands at the start of the session, 3 or 4 sets deep, when you start sweating, which is going to be obviously going to be more prone to that in the heat, then it's just going to come off really, really quickly. So having a blend that's more suited to the higher temperatures is going to be golden, because and going to stop you getting frustrated. So variety is key, and use the little test of, you should be able to pick up a moderate to heavy or break a moderate to heavy stone off the floor, say whatever 75-80% of your max, for some sets of triples, just breaking it off the floor, focusing on keeping your arms kind of relaxed, and just if your arms are slipping on the stone and you're not getting any traction, then the tacky isn't right. Assuming that your stones aren't too dusty and dirty, etc.